Welcome to Founders in Biotech. In this podcast, biotech entrepreneurs share the founder's journey and scientific achievements. I'm your host, Sergey Glinka. Our today's guest is James Lee. Thank you so much, James, for joining us on Founders in Biotech.
Thanks for inviting me, and very excited to be here as the first Korean entrepreneur to share my experiences and thoughts with the audiences.
Fantastic. We have, in the beginning, we like to talk about inspiration. So what has inspired you to become a scientist, and what was your experience with education in the early days?
Yeah, actually, I remember a book written by Carl Sagan. The title is Cosmos, which is about cosmos and universe. So it really fascinated me in my childhood. Due to that, I decided to study science. At the undergraduate, I majored chemistry and biochemistry at graduate school.
And after that, you decided to focus on structure biology. How did this happen?
Yeah, actually, chemistry is a really wonderful science, which explains colors, change of colors, temperatures, temperature changes, and pressures, and change of pressures, all like that. So every theoretical hypothesis and the mathematic tools can explain our experiences in our daily lives. In a very basic biology class, I happen to study chemical reactions which take place in our neuronal system. And surprisingly, it was really especially directional. And directional chemistry or chemical reaction doesn't happen in open spaces. So it really amazed me. I couldn't explain how such a very complex chain of reactions happen in truly especially directional way. So I decided to apply my mathematical and theoretical knowledge to explain what happens in our cells and bodies. And the only way is actually to study structural biology, which can explain how proteins moves and changes in terms of structure, which results in some biological responses in our body.
And what was if you can remember it, what was the major insight from doing chemistry in the wet lab and working structure biology in terms of scientific maybe activities or like methodologies between chemistry and then structure? I assume you've grown crystals in the lab.
Right. Yeah, the chemistry is really theoretical by nature, but biology handles really difficult and very complex systems by nature. So I would like to explain all the experiences theoretically, but in culturing cells and handling proteins are basically very complex. So theoretical to experimental perspective is quite big gap between chemistry and biology. So it took almost 1 year to get myself adapted to experimental scientist.
Yeah, biology is definitely more complex. You have much larger molecules that
That's right.
behavior is depending on multiple parameters, not just solvents, but also very sensitive to pH, and you have much more conformational degrees than small molecules. So so you have your experience with structure biology, and then you switch to LG Chem. So you have chemistry, you have education, structure biology, and then you go directly into more business related activities at LG Chem. So they say the best business developers a scientist. So, how was your scientific background helping you to get into this role?
Yeah. So as a structural biologist, I should be really good at mathematical modeling. So to make the numerical calculation to specific value. But strikingly, in business side or planning side, everything is basically modeling. So we call financial modeling or financial projection by using the numerical modeling tools. That really helped. That's one thing. Another thing is that a very small scientific finding can be converted to huge and tremendous economic value sometimes, especially in business development space. So it was really exciting to use very small scientific things to make a real impact on money side. So it was really kind of amazing to me. And doing that, we need some scientific knowledge to find which one is really, really important in terms of business.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned something I have experienced recently. So, I'm also like a modeler in structural biology. So, I needed to run some financial planning. As I realized, compared to what we do in science, it's quite simple. Uh, so you have
Yes.
an Excel spreadsheet, and you have not so many, let's say, hypotheses or factors that can influence the results. So compared to scientific modeling, as you said, financial planning seemed to me, and this is my personal experience, so some people might disagree, seemed to me quite controllable and so less complex compared to scientific
Right.
problems.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I agree. The as modeling financial or projection might be much simpler because the variables are controllable, at least in the planning phase.
Yeah, so you don't need to predict behavior of nature, right? So you have some factors
Right.
that you can
That's right.
better control. So you have your studies. You switched to a role at LG Chem. How many years have you spent there?
Yeah, I spent 7 year and a half in LG Chem. In 7.5 years, I spent 2.5 years as a researcher and another 2.5 years as a member in R&D planning, and remaining 3 years as a business developer.
Okay, so the BD part came later,
Right.
and so you are at the corporate. You have a safe job, what they call a safe job, and then you decide to become a founder of a biotech company, which then you also brought public, called
Right.
Crystal Genomics. What was the process behind it that you decide I'll leave the job and start my own journey?
So, in reality, it was a series of kind of coincidences. Back in 1997, South Korea experienced a financial crisis which overwhelmed all Asian zones. And due to that, Korean government actually fostered entrepreneurship to make jobs and to make the economy more information or knowledge based. And one of my very close friend founded a lab-based biotech company, and that went public in 2000, early 2000, and reached a $1 billion company. So I realized, oh, such a small biotech company could make a huge, not only money but also value to society. So very naturally, I was attracted by to experience such exciting things.
And one question I never heard about that entrepreneurship was fostered. How was can you remember which maybe mechanics the government applied, or was it kind of which programs that were supposed to foster entrepreneurship?
Yeah, first thing in Korea, LG major kind of initiative to foster entrepreneurship was to renew its stock market called Kosdaq. Kosdaq is equivalent to Nasdaq, but the system was more tailored for a brick and mortar type of companies. But the government recreated a Kosdaq market, which is more friendly to knowledge-based or revenue, money-losing companies like biotech companies. And that
Okay.
measures opened a really new world to Korean kind of business sectors.
Yeah, understood. Okay, so it's not like bottom up initiatives which often apply entrepreneurship. It's more this if we are growing, or especially in biotech, where you have a long period, only investments,
Right.
no revenue, potentially some deals, but
Mm,
generally you're losing, and you open a market to access funds to fund
that's right.
those activities of biotechs, which
Right.
in typical terms in an exit strategy. So it's kind of strengthen the exit
Right.
strategy, liquidity events on the one side, on the other side, acquisition of funds to fund activities. That's very, very interesting. Okay, need to dive into it. So you see that there is an opportunity to build a biotech company.
Mhm.
What was the idea behind Crystal Genomics? Like initially, and maybe you can say how was it transforming, maybe morphing over the journey, over the
Mhm.
like time of the company.
Mm. Oh, so we should go back to the history of LG Chem. As a as a biotech arm of large LG conglomerate, so LG Chem at that time established a structural biology expertise and high throughput screening expertise very early in 1990s. So as a structural biologist, I was hired by LG Chem due to that. And my colleagues, actually my boss, my ex-boss, believed structural biology can make the drug discovery process more rational and more speedy, delivering drug candidates in a much faster way. So he chose structural biology and structure-based drug discovery as the core of his biotech company, so-called Crystal Genomics.
Okay, so you okay understood. So you put structure biology capabilities into the center of the drug discovery process.
Right.
Cool. When I was doing research, I identified that the team at Crystal Genomics solved the first
Mm.
PDF5 structure, and
Right.
it was so it was probably still a little bit of crisis on the market. And what I read is that publishing this contributed a lot to the visibility and to the attractiveness of the
Right.
company.
That's right.
From the business perspective, maybe then like as a then we can switch to more technical
Mhm.
aspects of business development. What was the impact for the company after this publication? And if you can share a story with us, how the work has been done, also that will be great to hear.
Yeah. So late 90s and early new millennials, PD5 and its inhibitors, such as Viagra and Cialis, was so popular, not only in the professional sector, but also all of our societies as a quality of life drug. And at the time, PD5 protein structure was not solved. So we thought by solving PD5 protein structure, we could design better drugs, exceeding, surpassing Viagra and Cialis. Eventually, that didn't happen, unfortunately. But the publication made the Crystal Genomics put on the radar in biotech sector and pharma sectors as well. So due to that publication, we don't need to explain Crystal Genomics in long ways by simply telling about the publication. They recognized our capabilities and our expertise as well.
Yeah, so it's kind of not only a door opener, it's like a trust building. Like here's our Nature paper on multiple
That's
PDF5 structures.
right.
Okay. So looking back at your experience as a founder, what skills have helped you in the past by building Crystal Genomics and other companies, and experience at LG Chem to start and build Bridge Biotherapeutics? Was it science? Was it business? Was it a mixture? Was it some kind of insights? What helped you to found this company?
Yeah, for me, more better understanding of clinical development side actually helped a lot. So eventually, scientific breakthrough should be translated to clinical benefit. So I see a lot of scientists slash entrepreneurs. They value scientific breakthrough so a lot, so they sometimes ignore the clinical aspect, clinical benefit of science. So every scientific breakthrough should be translated to clinical benefit. So from my past experience, I could get a better understanding of how scientific value can be translated to clinical benefit. That helped a lot in selecting compounds or selecting assets and making a better portfolio for the Bridge Bio.
Makes a lot of sense. I have stories about what you just said that focus on scientific breakthroughs. I have so many experiences where there was just an example, there was a conversation with algae that can produce antibodies and secrete it into the medium. And I was like, oh, this is fantastic. You should start a company, to commercialize it. And I was happy I was not beaten up in the room by scientists, because it was so strange for them that you commercialize it. But I know that antibodies are super expensive to produce, so a new technology could lower the price and broaden the accessibility. So the translation of the discovery is is indeed very important. Otherwise, the society does not get the benefit of this discovery. So clinical side, it makes a lot of sense, and portfolio management, of course, it's something that do you learn it as in business development? Would you say it's there are different roles in business development, but would you say this is something you have a high chance to learn in business development, those portfolio management experience?
Yeah. Yeah, as a biotech entrepreneur or founders, securing the enough money to develop our assets to a certain point is always very important. So in my case, as a small biotech company in Korea, which whose investor community is smaller than US, I should expect much smaller investment from investor community. So instead of choosing antibodies, which is very costly in terms of development, So I decided to choose a small molecules for as assets for Bridge Bio, not because small molecule is superior to antibodies, but because the small molecule is cheaper to develop up to human POC. So considering science or the clinical aspect and also the budget or capital size or nature of investors are really, really important.
Yeah, small molecules are here to stay. They're always, all small molecules are out. Let's downsize it, but small molecules are still the largest number of
Right,
therapeutics that
right.
are like what's the word that are not administered but recognized as therapeutics after phase 3. Um, so it's still the largest number, and they are here to stay.
Sure.
And with the rise of covalent
Right.
inhibition and other like bifunctional molecules, it gives a lot
Yeah.
of you know a lot of energy back into small molecules.
Right.
Um, Comparing your companies, Crystal Genomics and Bridge Biotherapeutics,
Mhm.
what maybe has changed in the market, first of all, and maybe what, from your personal skill set, have you approached Bridge Biotherapeutics in a different way? Probably yes, because you have those experiences. But
Uh-huh.
what were kind of the main differences between, like,
Mm.
from your own perspective?
Yeah. So looking back, uh, so when I started the Crystal Genomics, we started with what we could do
Hmm.
simply. Uh, and at the times, I didn't know how to convert the scientific value to clinical value, simply because of some lack of experiences. So we foc- emphasized on science, but in Bridge Bio, uh, I considered more in the clinical aspect as the, for example, so with limited capital, we cannot attack the immuno-oncology spaces. It's still very early in terms of understanding whole aspect of the science, and also requires lots of money to explore different tumor types in phase 1. So instead of doing something in very popular IO spaces, we chose a small molecule slash targeted therapy, which is much simpler in clinical development path. So again, at Crystal Genomics, my perspective was more on the early stage science, but in Bridge Bio, my aspect is on the clinical development aspect. What's the biomarker? What's the clinical path and regulatory path? What will be the clinical trial design, and what cost will be? So become more savvy in terms of businessman.
It sounds like, yeah, outcome oriented. It's not that we have new technology, what we
Right,
can do with this, which can work, but the outcome, actual kind of a reverse engineering process. You say, okay, this is where the
right,
market need is, and how can we reverse? You can, but in this way, I think you have multiple options. So it's not like you have a solution and you have to find where it fits. You have a identified um, the parameters, and you say how can we get, so you open actually the funnel. How can we insource? Is it insourcing of assets? Do we need to build partnerships?
right.
Do we need to have an own R&D?
Yeah, correct. So fortunately for us, back in 2015, when I studied Bridge Bio, there are lots of chance to find a very early development stage compounds available out there from academics or small biotech companies. they do have, at that time they did have compounds, but they didn't know how to develop those compounds. So, Bridge Bio, as a development focused company, that time we had lots of options to find a good compound for our strategy. One
So
really interesting story actually is the compound which was licensed to Boehringer Ingelheim back in 2019. The compound was discovered by a Korean biotech company. They designed the compound and synthesized the compound very well, but they wanted to develop that compound for the treatment of NASH. But my perspective, NASH is, even though the market size might be very big, the securing the clinical benefit in clinical trial might be very difficult. So I persuaded the company not to develop that in cash NASH, but in IPF, more life-threatening diseases, whereas we can measure clinical benefit in easier way. And that worked very well, and we licensed the compound to Boehringer Ingelheim in phase 1.
and then they didn't like something, and you secured the IPA back again.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
I think that's a fascinating story. I think we should share the article also. And I found it when I heard this. I found it wow. You really convince that even though they say okay, this one parameter we don't like, you've done additional experiments to confirm that it is actually safe.
Right.
Yeah. So solid science. I have two questions. So I have two last questions. The first one, you've built several multiple biotech companies, and maybe you can share some advice from someone who is fresh from academia or someone who's thinking of starting or have started a biotech company. From your experience on the high level, what advice, like maybe 2 or 3 advices that you like to give to those people, that what should they consider building a biotech company? Because I believe there is a bit of confusion, because there's a lot of content about tech companies which cannot apply for biotech companies.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Biotech is basically a really long journey. Long journey. So we need a group of really good friends internally. So team building, I think, is the key to the success of biotech companies. Again, biotech is not a sprinter game. It's more like a marathon. So a good team really matters in this game. Another recommendation is to find the quality investor. When I say quality investor, it's not about the size of money or valuation to our company. It's more about how they understand the science. If the investor do not understand sciences, they might have wrong or false expectation on this science. So having a investor which have really good knowledge on our scientific asset might be the key to the success of biotech companies. So good friend and good investors.
Perfect. Thank you. Do you have a wish for the future of entrepreneurship in biotech?
Let's see. So, again, as biotech is not a sprinter game, so always team building might be the key to the success of biotech. So if somebody consider starting biotech companies, I recommend him or her to build a good team of really a good match between science and business as well.
Great. James, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Yes, I can be really reachable through my email, james.lee@bridgebioRx.com, or please find me on LinkedIn. You can search James Lee /BridgeBio.
Perfect. Thank you. In this episode, our guest was James Lee, who is the co-founder and CEO of Bridge Biotherapeutics, a biotech company focused on clinical stage programs focused on pulmonary fibrosis, lung cancer, and immunology. James, it was such a pleasure to have a conversation with someone who has led two companies public, which is a very rare event in biotech. So thank you so much for sharing your experience on Founders in Biotech.
Yeah, my pleasure to be invited for this really wonderful event. Thank you.